Now, let's talk about the clown world of power. This man and law enforcement are the clowns, in case you're wondering who they are. Because Garcia seems to be accelerating things on his end with his investigation and theory, I do believe that it is a hot topic of discussion. But all jokes aside, even though Unique calls Garcia a clown, and even though law enforcement has had its fair share of clowns over the years of power because they rarely make their cases stick, there have been a few rare wins. There have also been a few very good detectives in the world of power. In Raising Kanan, Detective Shannon Burke was a very good detective. In fact, if she had been Garcia's partner instead of Detective Howard, we'd be talking about a very different Raising Kanan. We'd be saying case closed. The majority of these men would most likely be in handcuffs. But then again, we'd also be talking about a very different show. So I guess there's a fine balancing act. I also hope that by the end of Raising Kanan, some of these guys do end up in prison. It would be good to have a few characters still alive in the Power Origins timeline, and who knows, maybe still alive in the present day, where they could potentially pop up in a new spin-off. With that said, in this breakdown, we'll be talking about law enforcement and how Garcia seems to be targeting Unique. Will he be able to get the victory he wants before the season is over? If so, will it be Unique? Will it be someone else? Or will law enforcement be left embarrassed once again? We're also going to explore how Rack could potentially use law enforcement to get the upper hand, very similar to what she's done before. There's a lot to unpack in a topic we haven't discussed for a while, all things law enforcement in Raising Kanan since the beginning of the season. There are a few significant things to keep in mind. The police commissioner told the media and journalists that the murders and everything that happened at the warehouse were committed by foreign nationals. However, Captain Baptiste knew that couldn't be further from the truth. He sent Detective Garcia on a mission to get to the bottom of the case. Captain Baptiste doesn't have much time left in office, and before he leaves, he wants the case closed. He doesn't want to retire with it hanging over his head. There's not just one dead cop, but two, although Shannon Burke is still considered a suicide, and that likely won't be resolved. Garcia was given free rein to press his informants, strong-arm people in the streets, and do whatever it takes to close the case. Early in the season, when Rack's lawyer Andre Barnes was still alive, he mentioned that the task force had been disbanded. As far as they were concerned, the authorities were no longer looking into the Thomases, so they could relax a little. Though they still needed to be cautious. However, they were unaware that Garcia was independently still looking for answers in the shadows. There was also the matter of Rack's get-out-of-jail-free card. Towards the end of that episode, Andre told her that the feds were looking into Stefano Marchetti. If she provided information that helped convict him, law enforcement would show their gratitude. Keep that in mind. When we talk about how Rack could use it to change the game in her favor, we'll come back to it shortly. So, what does Garcia think or believe to be true? He believes that Unique killed both Detective Howard and his brother Ronnie Mathis. He thinks they were in business together, that they turned on him and sent him away, but then Unique came back and took them out. That's the theory Garcia is running with, making Unique the main suspect. Garcia later went to see Jukebox. At the time, she wasn't having any of it and didn't entertain Garcia. However, we are aware that he will return and attempt to stir things up. Honestly, if I were Juke, I'd talk to law enforcement. Not to snitch or give them real info, because we know Juke isn't a snitch, but to get a read on Garcia's theory. He might let something slip about what or whom he's investigating. From Rack's point of view, this case was already dead. Andre told her it was no longer a concern. If she finds out that Garcia is still investigating, she could definitely use that information. I think Juke has to tell Rack that Garcia approached her. She told Rack when Detective Burke approached her in the first season, and she even directed Burke in the wrong direction. If Juke tells Rack about Garcia's approach, which she likely will, could Rack ask her to do something similar again? Talk to Garcia, feed him a little something to chase, find out what he knows and who he's targeting. Together with Stefano, Unique, Snaps, Pop, Bill Russo, and the police. Rack needs to get ahead of the situation. She's lost Joyce Thomas. Marvin has made a mess. Her empire is crumbling, and Unique and Snaps are targeting Kanan. Her greatest weakness. It's likely that they have twisted Kanan's mind against her. So, what does Rack do against people playing dirty? She fights fire with fire. And if that means using law enforcement, so be it. We've seen her do it before. In Season 1, she had Kanan wear Unique's jacket and stash it in his closet for the police to find, setting him up for Detective Howard's shooting. That's how I think Rack could regain some control and gain the upper hand in this high-stakes chess game. Just like the situation with Marvin and the Italians, when things reach a tipping point, something has to give. It looks like law enforcement is approaching a tipping point in the next 2 episodes. If I were Rack and Juke brought her the info that Garcia approached her, I'd tell Juke, feed him a bone. Feed him something that sends him chasing after Unique or Stefano. Mention Stefano's name. Send Garcia in the Italian's direction. That's how Rack needs to play this. She won't win this war with guns and fists. This season has been. We know Rack has worked as a CI for Howard in the past. She has previously provided him with information, including information regarding Unique's re-entry. She even set Unique up for the shooting at the end of Season 1. It's not far-fetched to think she could use law enforcement again to do her dirty work. It's a harsh world, and if she doesn't act, they'll take her down first. That's how Rack needs to play this. She won't win this war with guns and fists. This season has been an intricate chess game filled with calculated moves, and she'll have to make hers if she wants to come out on top. Lastly, let's talk about CIs. Confidential informants. Is there anyone else employed by Garcia who might have ties to these street crews? We've mentioned Amania Cooper before. She's someone to keep an eye on. But could there be a surprise? Could someone else be planted in these organizations giving Garcia an edge? Other than Amania, no one else stands out at the moment. But this is power, you never know. That's where things stand with law enforcement right now, and how Garcia is focused on Unique. Could Rack turn this to her advantage? Could she have Jukebox discover Garcia's knowledge or completely deceive him? We've seen Rack do it before, and I think she'll need to fight dirty again. The only way is this. Let me know what you think in the comments. This law enforcement storyline is gaining momentum, and something's going to have to give. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.